Well, he's finally done it, ladies and gentlemen. The Pope has finally caved and succumbed to the leftist woke mob, and he apologized. Not only for something that he didn't do himself, but also for something that has not even been proven to be true. I mean, this is all based on a huge lie. So today's video is really going to be a lesson in just how bad things can get when fake news spreads in the mainstream media. Now, this all stems back and started with this. These are the kinds of articles that were going around, like this one from the Vancouver Sun. Remains of 215 children found at former Kamloops residential schools, First Nation. And this was echoed by countless papers all over the globe who perpetuated this lie. Now, check this out. It says here, BC First Nations has confirmed that the remains of 215 children who were students of the Kamloops Indian residential schools have been found on the reserve using ground-penetrating radar. The problem is, guys, that is not true whatsoever. Here they are making the bold claim that it has been confirmed and that the bodies have been found using the ground-penetrating radar. But as I said, that's entirely not true. In fact, the specialist who put together that test even said in her own words, as we see right here, she stressed that hers was a preliminary investigation, and only forensic investigation with excavation will provide definitive results. She even said herself, this is not definitive. The only way to get definitive results is to have an excavation, which has not happened. And yet here you had the mainstream news article saying it has been confirmed and the bodies have been found using this technology. Again, a blatant, absolute lie that really has led to a great deal of problems here in Canada, where, you know, this leftist woke mob wants to have you believe it's systemically racist, which is absolute nonsense. And this is why I quickly put out a video back in June of 2021 titled "The Truth About Residential Schools, quote, Mass Graves. It wasn't genocide. It amplifies the war on Christianity. Hundreds of bodies of Indigenous children have been recently, quote, discovered at burial sites near residential schools in Canada. And the Catholic religious order that operated these schools says it will disclose all historical documents in its possession. But without any digging, both metaphorically or literally, the Canadian government and the MSM have labeled this a case of genocide. And the implications have many turning their hatreds towards Christians in today's world. And that's exactly what we're seeing. That's what the Pope is doing with this apology, is perpetuating this lie, which is adding to the hatred of Christians. I mean, once this news came out of the so-called 215, in the wake of that, 68 churches were burned down to the ground. Many of them old historical churches, completely burned to the ground because of people absolutely taking out their hatred on this. Now, I am pleased to see, however, recently an actual mainstream media news article has come out which has gotten it right, and it's from the National Post, surprisingly, and they put out this piece, "The Year of the Graves, How the World's Media Got It Wrong on Residential School Graves." And it's a really solid article. As you see here, this is how it all began. You know, back on May 28th, you got these headlines with the gruesome, quote, discoveries that, you know, created shame and guilt and rage that swept across the country. And goes on to say here, you know, the first story said that they found 215 children, except that's not what happened in Kamloops. In the following weeks, while the term mass graves generally gave way to unmarked graves, They added a discovery of 1,300 child burials, except that's not what happened in those places either. And it's a long article. I'll leave a link in the description below if you want to check it out. But as you can see, they get into specifically what the journalists were getting wrong, which is very important because this is how all this spread and got to the point that we are today of the Pope apologizing. But not only that, but what also the fallout was. And the fallout was indeed great. And unfortunately, this article came out too late, you know. It was saying all the same things that I said a year ago. And I'm glad it finally came out, but too little too late, because the damage has already been done in the minds of the masses. In fact, I went around in Vancouver interviewing people on the streets of Vancouver, and I was absolutely shocked and horrified at just how many people, probably 95% of them, said it was okay to burn down churches. They felt it was completely justified to burn down churches as a result of this. So that just goes to show just how bad things can really get out of hand when fake news is allowed to spread. And you know, as we see here, the Pope is now doing this apology, and honestly, it's more of like an apology tour. I don't think this is over. Here's his itinerary. I mean, you know, the other day he was in Edmonton. He's still in Edmonton. Then he's heading to Quebec. He's meeting with you know, Indigenous people. He's got other kind of private meetings with Indigenous people and even residential school students he's meeting with in private. So this thing is far from over. He's going to be continuing to perpetuate this massive hoax, really, which is what it is now, as he continues his little tour of Canada. So as long as he's going to continue to perpetuate this lie, I'm going to continue to expose it for what it is. By the way, guys, on the day that he was announced as the new Pope, I warned that his mission would be to bring about an ecumenical movement, and it's really starting to look like that may in fact be the case. That this is what his mission is, and as we can see, this is what is starting to happen, as I said nearly 10 years ago. Now, when I put out that video titled, you know, mass graves in quote, and saying it wasn't a genocide, I got a lot of hate for that online. You know, people were extremely upset with me, saying, hey, how dare you say that there aren't mass graves there? How dare you, you know, claim that this wasn't a genocide? Not a single body has been excavated or brought out of the grounds to this day, but still, nonetheless, back then everybody was saying, how dare you, how dare you? So a couple days after putting that out and getting the heat that it was getting from the online community, I just decided to put out a little bit of a statement just to make things perfectly clear, because this is incredibly important to know moving forward. So I put this out. Back then, a lot of children were very sick from both disease and malnourishment. And on top of that, living conditions were not up to par for children, and many got sick while away from home, causing their untimely deaths. Tuberculosis was rampant in children at the time, and many were entering the schools with the disease. So the majority of these kids died from starvation and disease, which was not on purpose. What happened was a terrible atrocity. No child should ever be forcefully removed from their parents, but today's far left activists want to exaggerate what happened so as to paint Canada as a systemically racist nation that needs to be destroyed so that their Marxist utopia can replace it. What the Catholic Church did was downright evil, but that has nothing to do with Christians today. So please stop burning and vandalizing the churches. That is not how we move forward together on this issue. Christians are not the enemy. The government is. Can I help you?
Yeah. What are you? Is it a movie crew or?
I have no idea what that is.
Oh, you're not.
So there you have it, guys. Sorry about the interruption, but I felt it was important for me to get that out there, just to, you know, clarify things, because as I said, with these water is being incredibly muddied right now. We need to clear things up, because we've already seen things descend into, like, as I said, you know, churches being burned, all based on a huge lie. Again, as I said, if the Pope is going to continuously go on to perpetuate this lie, then I'm going to continue to make videos exposing it for what it is, guys. If that's something you appreciate, please check out the links in the description below to where you can find out how to support my efforts moving forward, and that description is going to be wherever you happen to be watching this video, on whatever platform that is, whether it's BitChute or Odyssey or Rumble or Float or Minds or you know, Hive, or maybe even YouTube. You might be watching that there. If you just click where it says more or the little down arrow, you can find all the links to the sources to this video, and also to where you can support my efforts moving forward. And that's all for today, guys. I want to thank you guys so much once again for tuning in. Don't forget to click that thumbs up button, share this video with your friends and family who need to see it the most, and stay tuned. We're going to have more video reports coming soon. This is Dan Dicks reporting for Press for Truth. We all want truth. The truth will set you free.